Nepal is in the midst of one of its most dramatic political upheavals in recent history. What began as a protest against a controversial social media ban suddenly snowballed into a full-blown revolt against government's corruption and authoritarian rule. Young people, driven by frustration and anger, have taken the streets in unprecedented numbers, demanding accountability, freedom, and democratic integrity. The immediate flashpoint igniting this wave of dissent was the government's sudden ban on major social media platforms including Facebook, WhatsApp, and X. The move, officially justified as a security measure, was seen by critics as a thinly veiled attempt to suppress free speech, control public narrative, and stifle political opposition. For a generation glued to social media as the primary mode of expression and organization, this was the last straw. On September 8, thousands of young protesters, primarily from Nepal's Gen Z, gathered in the capital Kathmandu. Starting at the iconic Maitigar Mandala and converging near the Federal Parliament building, demonstrators demanded the government reverse the ban and resign in the face of rampant corruption. Colorful flags, placards, and even pop culture symbols like the straw hat pirates, Jolly Roger from One Piece became powerful motifs of resistance. However, the peaceful protest turned violent as security forces clamped down with force. Tear gas canister flew, water cannons were unleashed, and the live ammunition tragically ended the lives of at least 19 protesters, including several university and school students. The targeted killing of students became a particularly heart-wrenching symbol of the state's brutal response. Over 300 people were injured, amplifying national and international outrage. The following day, the unrest deepened. Protesters set fire to the residence of top government officials, including those of Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli. Curfews were imposed in Kathmandu, Lalitpur, and Bhaktapur, but they failed to stem the tide of dissent. In an increasingly chaotic environment, the movement evolved from a fight against social media restriction to a broader call for political overhaul. Faced with mounting pressure and dwindling support, Prime Minister Oli ultimately resigned, along with several ministers, including the Home Minister and Agriculture Minister. In response, the government lifted the controversial social media ban, but protesters saw this as only a partial solution. Their demands extended beyond policy reversal to a full-scale independent investigation into the killings of students and other demonstrators, constitutional reforms, and systematic accountability. International reaction was swift. India issued travel advisories and strengthened border vigilance. The United Nations called for an impartial probe into the deaths, while human rights organizations condemned the violent crackdown. At its core, the Gen Z uprising reflects a hunger for change and justice. Young Nepalis, connected, informed, and digitally empowered, refuse to be sidelined. Their protests are not just about social media access. They are about demanding a more transparent and democratic Nepal. The question now remains, will Nepal establishment heed the call for change, or will this historic movement face further repression? The world is watching as one of the youngest democracies in Asia roars revolution.